Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to learn how to translate Japanese correctly into your native language. In this video, we will translate in English, but we will try to make other videos in the future in other languages. I will give away some of my techniques I have been using over my 20-year experience as a professional translator. In this video, I'm going to start with a very basic, easy text that I found in Minna no Nihongo. Minna no Nihongo is the textbook I use to teach my students. I have already made a few explanations about the textbook, and if you are interested in learning with Minna no Nihongo, I will put a link in the video description. Okay, so those are the 4 rules that I use to translate a Japanese sentence. And even though I have a long experience as a translator, I am still using those 4 rules when I'm kind of lost in translation. And the reason I'm using those rules is because, as you probably already know as a Japanese language student, Japanese language is very complicated as regards its structure. Everything is kind of backward, and even if you understand all the words, sometimes you experience difficulty understanding what is the exact meaning of the sentence. So those are the 4 rules that I use. Look for the topic, look for the main verb, go backward and translate as you go, check everything to make it sound like English or any targeted language. Rule number 1, look for the topic. What does that mean? Well, to look for the topic, you have to look for the marker wa, spelled with the hiragana ha. The marker wa is the topic marker, and this is what you want to look for first when you start translating the sentence. Rule number 2, look for the main verb. Usually the main verb is at the very end of the sentence, so it should be easy to find. You want also to pay attention to the tense of the verb. Then go backward and translate as you go. You have to start from the main verb once you found it, and you want to go backward and translate each word respectively with its own marker. And the last rule is to check everything to make it sound English. By that I mean, after you will have done those 3 rules, you will find yourself with a sentence that makes sense but is not the way you will say it in your native language. So you have to put everything back into words so that it sounds natural in your native language, but also you want to be careful of not losing the original meaning of the sentence. Okay, let's have a look at the text. The text is called Minna-san no Mainichi, and you can find it on lesson 6, page 55. I'm going to read it one time, and I will translate it after. Minna-san wa maiasa 7時に起きます。朝ごはんはいつもパンとコーヒーです。電車で会社へ行きます。会社は9時から5時までです。7時に家へ帰ります。7時半に晩ご飯を食べます。それからテレビを見ます。英語の新聞を読みます。夜12時に寝ます。土曜日と日曜日、会社は休みです。土曜日の朝、図書館へ行きます。午後、テニスをします。日曜日、どこも行きません。休みます。Let's have a look at the first sentence and let's apply 4 rules. First rule, look for the topic. Where is the topic? Miller-san. Miller-san wa. So we're gonna start our translation with Mr. Miller. Let's go at the end of the sentence to find the verb. The main verb is okimasu. Okimasu means to get up. So we know we are going to start our sentence with Mr. Miller gets up. What do we have in between? From there we go backwards. So we have shichiji, shichiji ni, which is the time indicator, at 7. And then we have mai asa, which is also a time indicator, which means every morning. Therefore, our sentence is Mr. Miller gets up at 7 every morning. Now, let's have a look at the next sentence. Asagohan wa itsumo pan to kohi desu. Alright, where is the topic? Let's look for the wa marker. Asagohan wa, so asagohan, breakfast, is the topic. Let's have a look at the final verb. So we go at the end of the sentence, and here we have desu. So desu is not really a verb. It could sometimes be translated by the verb to be, but not all the time. But for now, let's keep it like this. Let's say it's going to be So we're going to say the breakfast is. And let's go backwards. We have kohi, so the breakfast is coffee. And then we have panto. Panto, to is the marker for and, so we're going to say bread and coffee. And then we have itsumo, which is a time indicator, which means always. So our translation here will be the breakfast is bread and coffee always. So for this sentence, this is where we're going to apply the fourth rule, because breakfast is bread and coffee always doesn't sound natural in English. So let's say that in English, we are going to use Mr. Miller because this whole text is about Mr. Miller. This is what I would suggest to translate. I would say for breakfast, he always has bread and coffee. And this makes much more sense in English, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look at the next sentence. Densha de kaisha e ikimasu. Okay, let's look for the topic. And actually, we don't have a topic in this sentence. So in this case, let's just go straight to look for the main verb. The main verb is ikimasu and is to go. So when you don't have a topic in the sentence, usually, if it's a conversation, it means that when I say something and there is no topic, it means that I'm talking about myself, because myself is implicit. If I'm asking a question without a topic, the topic is you, the person I'm asking the question to. All of these elements are implicit in Japanese. However, here we're talking about a text. And when you don't have a topic in a paragraph, what you want to try to do is to get back to the previous sentence and see what was the topic, because this sentence is actually a continuation of this topic. So when we go to the previous sentence, we can see that the topic was a breakfast. But here we have to apply logic. The breakfast going somewhere, does that make sense? No, obviously not. So we can go further backward and look at the first sentence. We get to the first sentence where our previous topic was Mr. Miller. And again, we're talking about Mr. Miller. This whole text is about Mr. Miller. So it makes sense to assume that the sentence is Mr. Miller goes. This is how we're going to start our sentence. Mr. Miller goes. Then we go backwards. Kaisha e, to the company. And then we go a little bit backward. Densha de, by train. So our sentence is Mr. Miller goes to the company by train. And let's now apply rule number 4, where we're gonna make it sound better in English. We could actually translate it into something like that. He takes the train to the office. Let's have a look at the next sentence. So, 会社は9時から5時までです。Okay, so now look for the topic, and the topic is 会社は会社 the company. And again, we look at the main verb at the end of the sentence, and we have desu. So again, let's use the be verb. So the company is. And then let's go backwards. So we have 5時まで until 5. The company is until 5. And if we go backwards, we have 9時から, so from 9 o'clock. So the company is from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. All right, and let's try to make it sound better now by applying the fourth rule. And we're gonna use again Mr. Miller in English as a topic and say he works from 9 to 5. And to make it sound better, we can even link the translation, this sentence. In our translation, we can link this sentence with the previous sentence and say, he takes the train to the office where he works from 9 to 5. And I believe it makes much more sense in English. It sounds more natural. The next sentence, 7時に家へ帰ります. All right, so we don't have a topic here. Rule number 2, the verb 帰ります, to go home. Okay. So let's go back to the previous sentence where the topic was the office, the company. The company goes back home doesn't make sense. So again, we assume we are talking about Mr. Miller. So Mr. Miller go back home because we have uchi-e, which is home. And before that, we have shichiji ni, which is a time indicator at 7 o'clock. Mr. Miller goes back home at 7. Rule number 4, let's make it sound more natural. He returns home at 7. Next sentence, shichiji han ni bangohan o tabemasu. So we don't have the topic in this sentence, so we are still going to use Mr. Miller. The main verb is tabemasu, so to eat. So Mr. Miller eats. Let's go backwards. Eats what? Bangohan o. Mr. Miller eats dinner. And then let's go backward. Shichiji han ni at 7:30. So Mr. Miller eats dinner at 7:30. Apply rule number 4. He has dinner at 7:30. Next sentence. それからテレビを見ます. So no topic. So we are still talking about Mr. Miller. The verb is 見ます to watch or to see. Mr. Miller watches. Then we go backward. テレビを he watches TV. それから is a time indicator that means and then. And then he watches TV. Again, let's check it in English to make it better. He then watches TV. Then we have 英語の新聞を読みます. Again, no topic. We're still talking about Mr. Miller. The main verb is 読みます to read. Mr. Miller reads. What does he read? 新聞を he reads newspaper. Again, we go backward, and before 新聞 we have 英語の. So 英語の we have the no marker, which is a linker between two nouns. 英語の has the function to modify 新聞, what kind of newspaper? Well, newspaper, English newspaper written in English. So he reads English newspaper. And again, when we apply rule number 4, we can link with the previous sentence to make it sound more natural and say, he then watches TV and he reads English newspapers. The last sentence of the first paragraph, Yoru 12時に寝ます. So again, we are talking about Mr. Miller. We don't have the topic, so we are gonna use Mr. Miller again. Nemas is the main verb to go to bed or sleeps. He sleeps or he goes to bed, and then we go backwards. 12時に at midnight, 12 o'clock, and then we have Yoru, which is at night. So he goes to bed at 12 o'clock at night. Let's make it sound more natural in English, and we're gonna say he goes to bed at midnight. And we can even add here we're gonna add something that is not going to change the original meaning of the sentence. Something like finally he goes to bed at midnight, and it kind of concludes the paragraph and it makes it sound natural. The next sentence is 土曜日と日曜日会社は休みです. Alright, so now in this new sentence we have a new topic in 会社は, so the office, the company. Then we look at the main verb です. So again, we're going to use be. The company is. And then we go backward and we have 休み. So 休み is off, to rest, to be off. The company is off. The company is closed. And before the topic, we actually have a time indicator, which is 土曜日と日曜日, Saturday and Sunday. So the company is off on Saturday and Sunday. Rule number 4, let's shake it and make it sound more English. Again, we're gonna use Mr. Miller because it sounds more, to me, it sounds more natural to use Mr. Miller as the topic here, as the subject in English. So I would say something like, Mr. Miller is off on Saturdays and Sundays. Next sentence. 土曜日の朝、図書館へ行きます. We don't have a topic. And we look at the main verb. Main verb is 行きます to go. So again, it's not going to be, the company is not going to be the topic. The company goes doesn't make any sense. So we're going to use Mr. Miller again. So Mr. Miller goes, we go backwards. 図書館へ, he goes to the library. 朝, in the morning. And before 朝, we have a modifier. 土曜日の朝. 土曜日の朝. So on Saturday morning. Let's check it to make it more natural. On Saturday mornings, he goes to the library. And then we have 午後テニスをします. no topic, so let's use Mr. Miller again. Shimasu is to do, so Mr. Miller do or does. Mr. Miller does. Then we go backwards and we have tennis. Mr. Miller does tennis. And then we have go afternoon. So Mr. Miller does tennis afternoon. Of course, we're not gonna leave it like this because it does not sound natural at all. We're gonna say he plays tennis in the afternoon. The final sentence, Nichiobi dokomo ikimasen, yasumimasu. So doyobi, again, we don't have a topic, so we are still talking about Mr. Miller. The verb is ikimasen, to go, but this time negative, right? So he doesn't go. And then we go backwards, we have dokomo. Dokomo means anywhere, so it's actually an expression that means he doesn't go anywhere. And then we have a time indicator when we go backwards, Nichiobi, Sunday. He doesn't go anywhere on Sunday. Or he does not go anywhere on Sundays. And the final sentence is just one verb, yasumimasu, which means to rest. He rests, or he stays home. He relaxes at home. All right, we are reaching the end of this video. I hope you liked it. I hope this was helpful because I know many students of mine and many students in the world, they struggle on how to translate Japanese sentences. In the future, I will make videos in different languages, and also I will try to increase the difficulty of the text so we have more interesting challenges. This one was a very easy text, very basic. When you reach a higher level in Japanese, you will face way more difficult sentences to translate, and I will try to cover those kind of sentences as well. All right, so if you like this video, please give a thumb up and consider subscribing. This will be very helpful for the channel. Also hit the bell button to get notified when I upload a video. If you have friends who are studying Japanese and they're struggling, share this video with them. It will be very helpful, and it will help us having more views, and it will help our channel grow. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Minasan, mite kurete arigatou gozaimasu. Sayonara.